Hey you guys, this is Sarah with Ripple Effect Fitness. I'm going to cover program number 4 in the Ultimate Group Training Manual. This is my favorite program of the 4 that I've presented to you guys. So a few different things with this one compared to the others. Just as with the other programs, you can use this program with groups that meet 3 days a week or 4 days a week, okay? One big thing that I changed in developing this program is that I took normally, like, I would do conditioning at the end of workouts, which I think is a pretty standard kind of thing. What I did was I decided to take the conditioning and flip it and do it first, okay? So the warm-ups are very much conditioning biased in this program. So that's a huge element right there, which I'll get into more detail about here in a second. But the strength work that we're using in this program uses what's called a wave loading approach. So essentially, with this program, after you go through the warm-up, that's the conditioning work, there's a warm-up block for that main lift of the day, okay? So depending on the loading for the work sets of that lift, the warm-up's gonna kind of be dictated by that. So after we do the warm-up block, then we get into the strength block, which with the wave loading here, what we're gonna do is we're going to basically go from heavier to lighter. So with 3 main work sets, we might be going 85% for a set of, let's just say 3 to 5. Then we go 80% on the next set for a set of 5 to 7, and then 75% for a set of 7 to 9, okay, on that third work set. So it's kind of different that way, because a traditional model would have us using either the same weight over the course of all the sets after warming up, or build with each set. So what I did was I had us kind of build up in the warm-ups and then come back down in the load, but then up on the weight, or up on the reps, sorry. So that's a different aspect of that too. So the overall emphasis with this program is kind of metabolic in nature, okay? And if you think about it, I mean, most of programming, like if you're keeping people moving throughout that training hour, let's just say an hour. I know some of y'all do 45 minutes, some might do longer sessions, but we're not having people sitting around for extended periods of time in between things, okay? So yes, rest intervals are important. Depending on like the strength focus for a specific program, you might have people resting 2 minutes, 3 minutes in between sets. Like if we're like working up to like if we're on a testing day, you're gonna have people sitting down a little bit more in between their work sets, okay, just to recover. We know that. But in general, this is a really metabolic biased program. It's a lot of work that's crammed into a 60 to 75 minute session, okay? The warm-up's conditioning bias. The strength circuit is essentially a 3 to 4 exercise circuit that focuses on the main lift, yes, but then it also includes exercises that aren't going to have a negative effect on that lift. So I'll explain that in the next video. But the assistance block, so there's essentially a warm-up, a conditioning warm-up, a warm-up for the main lift, a strength block, and then an assistance circuit. So that's metabolic in nature as well. So with this program, what I did was I designed it so that we have what I call a 1, 2, 3, 4 format. And essentially what that does is those numbers dictate the prescription for each of the components. So again, we have conditioning, which is the warm-up, we've got strength, and we got assistance. So depending on the training day, your conditioning could be a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4, and the same goes for the strength work and the assistance work, okay? So with this program, I also started really incorporating a lot of what I call strongman cardio circuits. So sled pushes, sled drags. We've got like, I love the heavy slam ball, all sorts of exercises with that. So carries with those, slam ball to shoulder, slam ball over the rack, which essentially is like, if you're familiar with strongman, where they'll do the Atlas stone and they'll load it on a platform. So all kinds of different exercises like that, which are kind of GPP in nature, or general physical preparedness. Very low low level as far as technique is involved. So there's not a lot of thought that has to be put into them. I mean, loaded carries of all sorts, anyone can do that. So the neat thing about that is that people can get in and get to work and like not have to overthink things and not have to acquire new techniques, okay? So there's a very low learning curve. And then also with that, what's cool is that you have a very low chance of people hurting themselves doing exercises that kind of fall into those categories. So sled pushes, carries, all of that stuff. The benefits that I observed from this program with doing conditioning in a front-loaded manner is that first off, it changes the overall energy of the entire workout. So from the get-go, people are coming in and knowing that they have to get down and get to work. Okay, so in previous programs, what I've observed when we kind of like people tend to not take the warm-up as serious as they should. And especially too, if we're doing a lot of things that are kind of like ground-based, which there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong. But things where we're doing like T-spine openers on the floor and various mobility drills and all of that good stuff, which is important, those are included in the program. And I can also say too that those could be done prior to starting the workout that day if people come in early and whatnot. But I just observed that people tend to kind of like half-ass that kind of stuff and just kind of, if people are coming in at 6 in the morning or whatnot, they're still kind of half asleep, and going through that stuff is kind of a snooze fest, right? But if you flip it and you have people doing, you know, a farmer carry ladder where we're going for 10 minutes and working progressively from lighter kettlebells all the way up to heavier, and people just have to keep moving, that gets people fired up, okay? So that's one aspect that I think is really awesome. Second, what I observed is that my groups, like pretty much everybody, like we get in, start working out, and people love doing the strength work, okay? But then when it came time to be the conditioning time at the end of the workout, people were either tired or dreading it or just had an overall kind of negative attitude about it. So people just weren't feeling the conditioning when I put it at the end of the workouts. So by prioritizing it or putting it on the front end, it kind of addresses that and we get that over with, and then it kind of frees people up mentally where they're not having to think, oh shit, we still have to do those, you know, rounds for time or that crap at the end, like it, you know, that stressful stuff. So it's kind of neat seeing that. And then the third thing that I really began to observe was that my clients, like, you know, kind of building on what I've just been talking about, but because we kind of start off with the intent of getting the work done, people will tend to fatigue at the right level. So the way that I describe it is that, and I was a triathlete, like if you leave it all out there on the race course is a phrase that is used kind of in the endurance world, like you basically gave it everything you got. So if you go to a race, like, and you hold back too much and you finish and you realize that you could have pushed a little bit harder, that's not really a good feeling. Versus if you like paced well and your nutrition was on point, you strategized, you were ready, and you basically were able to go out there and just kind of give it all you got and just leave it all on the race course, okay? So what I've observed is that my clients fall in this program, they tend to kind of leave it all at the gym, okay? So that when we're finished with the workout, they walk out of here in at the right level of being fatigued from what we did here, but not like dragging their ass out of here, okay? So I feel like it's the benefits of front loading the conditioning have been great for us. So that's basically a recap of program number 4. I'm going to get more specific with the different elements in the following videos.